9 phone booth, but the ask stack keeps thinning, which is quietly bullish if buyers stay patient. Draw and Morocco books look steady, so the market's basically waiting for a catalyst like a first big chance on.
Bandwagon. Not with that look. You've got "I suffered through qualifiers" written all over you, and salt and vinegar is fine, but don't bring that crunchy chaos into my commentary booth. Why are you talking like you've just been subbed on in the 89th? That's like a perfect through ball straight to your doorstep, no extra charge, no drama, just bang on time. If Lowe's are handing out perks like that, I'm signing up before kickoff and getting the squad's DIY sorted.
Brazil's bid depth just ticked up again, so buyers are still leaning in at 0.58, like a team holding a high press, but they haven't broken the 0.59 backline yet. Draw ask liquidity keeps swelling around 0.27, which tells you the market's happy to sell stale.
Whoa, that's proper trash talk from a packet of sweets, chewy, sour, and absolutely looking for a fight. Hey, twin, sounds like a strike partnership warming up. Tully and Eddie, you two better be ready to press high. All right, that's a sour double act trying to get under our skin. Chewy, loud, and begging for a crunching tackle. Hey, twin feels like two forwards linking up. Tully and Eddie, don't just talk, show it on the pitch. Imo, the Toyota resale value line is like a club flexing its balance sheet. Can you break down why Tacoma Tundra keep topping KBB and what that means for buyers?
Now that's a real tell. Brazil's total ask depth just dropped sharply, meaning that 0.59 supply wall is getting pulled or chewed through. If bids hold, this is the market stepping upfield. If not, it's a classic head fake and we snap back into the range.
Imo, they're pushing low APR financing on Tacoma Tundra. Give us the quick take. Is this a real bargain for buyers or just a shiny headline when rates are still high?
Yeah, it can be a real bargain. Subvented APR is basically the manufacturer paying part of your interest bill to keep the ball moving. But if the low rate comes with less discount or higher sticker, you're just shifting the cost from price to payments. Big shift on the draw book. Ask depth just got yanked lower so that no winner supply is disappearing fast and volatility can spike on any headline. Brazil's still pinned 80580.59, but with less draw liquidity, the next move could. Draw just ticked up a point and the spread widened to 0.26, 0.27. Market's paying up for extra time risk, and that usually means nerves rising. Brazil's still stuck 0.58, 0.59, but with bid depth thinning, that support is starting to look a.
Imo, they're throwing around resale value, history, and exceptional run like a market rally. How much should we trust past performance when we're picking a vehicle or an investment? This feels like a brutal semifinal collapse. Can you riff on the risk management angle like a portfolio drawdown while I call the heartbreak on the pitch?
Absolutely, this is the classic drawdown spiral. Once confidence breaks, everyone rushes the same exit and liquidity vanishes, so losses compound fast. Risk management is having the stop loss and position size set before the whistle, not after the first goal goes in.
Imo, that semifinal heartbreak feels like a market crash. One bad minute and everything you built evaporates. Give us your take. How do you keep your head when the momentum turns and panic hits?
Exactly. When momentum flips, your job is to stop playing hero and start playing defense. Cut exposure, stick to preset levels, and don't average down just to soothe the ego. Panic is a crowd wave. You survive by staying disciplined while everyone else sprints out of position. Draw just got a lot more two-sided, bid depth jumped, and now it's basically level with the offers, so that 0.26 line is turning into real support. Brazil's still priced like the favorite ATO 58, 0.59, but
Imo, this feels like a club reliving its worst semifinal scars. How much does that kind of history weigh on a team's market value in your world? Does narrative actually move numbers, or is it just noise?
it matters. Narrative is like sentiment premium. It can widen spreads and push price short term because crowds trade stories, not spreadsheets. But over time, fundamentals win. If the team performs, the SCAR discount fades like a bad quarter getting lapped. That near 260k sweep into the draw 80.26 is a real statement. Someone's parking size right on the support line and daring the market to break it. Brazil's still the favorite, but with that big .59 sell wall, upside looks like a crowded penalty box right now. Not much movement on the surface, prices are pinned, but the story is positioning. That massive draw bid, 80.26, is anchoring the market like a deep-lying midfielder. Brazil's bid .59 still looks heavy with supply, so any rally needs a... We're still stuck in a tight range, but the pressure's building. Brazil's offer side keeps outweighing bids. SO 0.59 is acting like a stubborn defensive line. Meanwhile, the draw book is getting heavier on the sell side too. Feels like traders are bracing. Brazil's sell wall finally thinned a bit, ask depth dropped, so the favorite has a slightly cleaner runway if buyers press. But the price still can't lift off .58 or .59, so it's like endless possession with no shot on target. Brazil's implied edge just ticked down a hair, and you can feel the market leaning a touch more cautious as draw liquidity thickens on the offer. It's a classic stalemate setup, favored on the ball, but the crowd's hedging for extra time. Brazil's back to 59% and the bid stack 80.58 just got a little thicker, so buyers are showing up again, but they're still staring at that big Joy 59 supply like it's a parked bus. Draw remains well supported at 26, so this market's basically waiting for a catalyst. That Brazil offer just reloaded in a big way. Ask depth jumped and the top wall 80.59 got even thicker, so upside is getting capped hard. Morocco's probability slipping to 16% tells you the market's consolidating into Brazil or draw.
IMO, this stadium's rocking like a bull market. Brazil fans everywhere. Ancelotti strolling in with that CEO aura. Give us your opening bell take. Who's the safer bet tonight? Brazil control or Morocco on the counter?
Absolutely, Leo. Crowds priced it like Brazil's the blue chip, steady control, but that 59 sell wall is the market's valuation cap. Morocco's the counterpunch trade. Higher volatility, needs one clean break, otherwise it bleeds time and price.
Here they come, Brazil spilling out into that wall of canary yellow, and the place just lifts off like a rocket. You can feel the swagger in every step like the pitch is already theirs. Morocco won't blink though. This is where dreams get tested under floodlights.
Brazil's still pinned 80.58, 0.59, and that 0.59 wall remains massive. So the market's saying favorite, but no breakout yet. Morocco ticking back to 17% is a tiny risk on flicker, but the real tell is draw liquidity staying thick, keeping this game priced for 10. Brazil's bid depth just thinned while the 0.59 offer wall got even heavier. Buyers are losing a bit of stamina, and the favorites rally is getting stuffed at midfield. Biggest tell, Morocco ask depth just ballooned, so there's more supply. Morocco's offer stack just got even fatter, 80.17, nearly 1 million shares, so any upset rally is running into fresh defenders. Brazil's still stuck under that 0.59 ceiling, and with bids not rebuilding, it's control without the finishing touch.
IMO, they're comparing Brazil's walkout to Jordan and the Bulls. Love it. From your angle, does that legacy brand under pressure vibe feel like a blue chip stock trying to reclaim its peak, or is it a value trap this tournament?
Nailed it, Leo. This is a blue chip trying to retake the highs, but the tape says prove it. Price can't clear that 25 shine ceiling and sellers keep reloading. Not a value trap yet, just a premium name that needs a goal to justify the multiple.
Absolutely, Brazil can dance, but they can also do the dirty work in steel-toe boots when it's needed. One sniff, one finish, and suddenly the whole stadium's doing samba without even realizing. Morocco have to keep that door bolted shut because Brazil only need a keyhole.
We're seeing a slow bleed in Brazil bid depth while that 0.59 sell wall keeps getting reinforced. Classic favorite, but nobody wants to pay up. That's like a top seed passing it around the box. Possession looks great, but the market's waiting for a shot on target.
Yeah, Morocco feel like a new suit. Same badge, different cut, and you're dying to see how it fits under pressure. They've got that edge of unpredictability now, and that's dangerous against Brazil. If they start sharp, this could get spicy fast.
Brazil's win prob just dipped a notch, and the top bid actually slid to 5.7, even with headline depth higher, so that support is a bit padded, not aggressive. Meanwhile, the 0.59 offer wall is still the goalkeeper. Until it's cleared, this stays Now we've got a weird split. Brazil depth is swelling, but it's parked down at 0.57, while the 0.59 sell wall just got thicker, support is there, upside is capped. And the draw book is getting more two-sided, like the crowd hedging for... Brazil's ask depth just eased a bit, but the market's still leaning on that big Wi-Fi 7 bid shelf. Support below, ceiling at 059. That's a team protecting a 1-0 lead. Disciplined, but one mistake and you're suddenly playing for a draw. Brazil's book is thinning on both sides, but the key tell is that Walkway 59 wall is still standing while bids are leaning on Sway Wi-Fi 7. Momentum's stalling. Draw liquidity is tightening too, so any real match swing could gap this like a quick counterattack. That Brazil bid depth just dropped hard, and that's the first real sign the supporters in the stands are heading for the exits. Price hasn't moved yet because the 0.57 shelf is still there, but if that cracks, this favorite can slip fast. Leo, this is a full-on liquidity air pocket. Brazil bid depth collapsed and price slipped to 0.57, 0.58. Feels like a momentum swing after a big chance or injury. Can you frame what kind of on-pitch moment usually...
Spot on, Amo. On the pitch, that's the gasp after a sitter gets skied or a keeper pulls off a miracle and the whole stadium's confidence leaks out. One crunching tackle or a limping star and suddenly the noise turns nervous like a lead balloon.
Brazil's win price is wobbling but stabilizing. Bid depth rebuilt 80.57, yet the overhead supply still dominates, so rallies look like they'll get sold. The draw ask side just ballooned, which screams hedge mode as traders brace for a momentum swing.
Morocco are playing with that we belong fire, and you can feel they're itching to write a new chapter, not live off an old one. Brazil, though, history in their boots, and that 2026 dream is glittering, but it's earned only in sweat. Now, forget the
Brazil's holding 0.57, 0.58, but it's still a heavy book overhead. More supply than demand, so upside feels like running into a packed defense. The draw market's getting more two-sided on the bid, but that big 0.27 offer keeps capping any late equalizer narrative.
Nothing like it. Once the whistle goes, all the perks in the world can't buy that heartbeat moment when the ball's rolling and your legs feel like they're flying. This is where reputations get tested and nerves get exposed right under the floodlights. Football's the real five-star experience. You can keep the fancy reservations. This is the only table that matters, and it's set with tackles and thunder. Nothing like playing, because one touch can turn you into a hero or a headline in the wrong way. That's the rush you can't bottle. All right, forget the pop star plug. 3-on-3 is street football, pure chaos and pure joy. Tight space, quick feet, no hiding, and the local crew will scrap for every ball like it's the last slice of pizza. This is where swagger gets tested fast.
Brazil's ask depth is easing a bit, but that 0.59 supply is still the brick wall. Buyers can't get a clean shot on goal. Meanwhile, the draw offers are stacking again 80.27, so the market's basically saying, we'll price the stalemate, but we're not chasing it.
3-on-3 against the locals? That's a cage fight with a football, mate. One nutmeg and the whole place erupts. No time to breathe. Every mistake is a goal, and pride's on the line from the first touch. Let's see who's got the street magic. IMO, this local crew unbeaten since '96 sounds like a blue chip dynasty. Any quick take on streaks, hype, and when a run like that finally meets its market crash?
Absolutely, Leo. Streaks trade like blue chips until the first ugly quarter, then everyone realizes they were paying for the story. The order book tells you when belief thins out. Once that support level gets tested and doesn't bounce, it's like conceding first. Brazil's still pinned 80.57, 0.58, but that sell wall 80.59 is thinning, 604K now, so one decent burst of buying could finally break the line. Draw liquidity is getting heavier on the offer, which feels like traders parking the bus and selling any excitement. Now we're seeing the air come out of the bid. Brazil depth slid, while the 0.59 sell wall barely moved, so buyers are losing stamina. Morocco's bid depth also got clipped hard, which tells you risk appetite is fading, and the market's playing defense, not offense. Big tell here, a fresh whale just piled into Brazil around 0.59, and you can see bid depth firming back up, momentum trying to flip back to favorites in control. Morocco's ask just stepped up to 0.1 white, so the upset is getting priced like a long shot.
IMO, this Brazil-Morocco clash feels combustible. VAR on high alert, 80K in the cauldron. Give me a quick market open take. Who's the blue chip today, and who's the risky penny stock under pressure?
Brazil's the blue chip, tight spread, deep bids, and whales leaning in, so the crowd's backing the favorite like a top seed at kickoff. Morocco's the penny stock, thin support and a wider cushion on the offer, meaning one bad tackle and liquidity vanishes fast. Brazil's price hasn't budged, but the sell-side liquidity just ballooned. Over $1 million on the asks, so upside is getting capped like a team dominating possession but not creating chances. Morocco bids are a bit sturdier, yet it's still a thin market if sentiment flips. Whoa. Brazil bid depth just got yanked from the book down to about 226K, and that's a classic buyer stepped away moment, even if the quote still reads 0.57, 0.58. With the 0.59 sell.
And we are off in New York, New Jersey, Brazil in yellow, Morocco in red, and the temperature's already boiling. One early wobble and the headlines write themselves back home so you can feel the nerves crackling under every first touch. This is fireworks waiting for a spark.
This book looks like a liquidity glitch or a reset. Top level showing 0.01 bids and 0.98 asks is basically the market stepping off the pitch until real size repopulates near 0.59. Any price you see is noise and slip. Still seeing those absurd 0.01 bids and 0.98 asks, and now Brazil bid depth is even thinner. This is a market with the lights flickering, not a clean read on sentiment. In this kind of spread chaos, the win prob is basically a scoreboard graphic while the real game is liquidity. Brazil bid depth collapsing to about 16K is the big tell. There's basically no backstop if sellers hit it, even though the headline quote still looks normal. This is like a stadium evacuation. The scoreline's on the screen, but the crowd that makes the market just left. Now we're seeing it on the scoreboard. Brazil ticks down to 0.55, 0.56, and win odds slip, so that liquidity wobble just turned into real price damage. The book's still weird with that 0.01 phantom bid, so any further selling could look like a fast counterattack. Brazil's now sliding to 0.54, 0.55, and the bid depth is back to a paper-thin 13K. There's just no defense in front of goal. With a chunky offer stack overhead, rallies look like hopeful long balls unless real buyers step in and rebuild the book. We've got a tiny bit of bid depth coming back in Brazil, but the price isn't lifting, still pinned 0.54, 0.55, so that's more damage control than a comeback rally. Meanwhile, Morocco's odds and price are creeping up, like the under...
Oof! That early tackle set the tone. This one's got sparks in it, and the ref's already praying VR stays quiet. Now Morocco with a dangerous set piece, and you can feel that red pocket of fans roaring like they own the place. Brazil better switch on. One lapse, and it's chaos. IMO, this Brazil-Morocco opener feels like a high-volatility stock at the bell. One set piece, and the whole market swings. How do you read the pressure risk here? Favorites versus fearless underdogs.
Totally. Brazil's the blue chip favorite, but the order book's thin, so one bad headline and it gaps down fast. Morocco's playing like a small cap with momentum, low expectations, quick bursts, and if Brazil hesitates, the crowd flips in a heartbeat.
Morocco don't care about the numbers in the stands. This set piece is a proper warning shot, and Brazil's backline is on high alert. Vinicius is already prowling out wide like a match waiting for gasoline, but one dead ball delivery here and the whole stadium flips.
Big shift. Brazil's bid depth just refilled to 127K, so the favorite finally has a defensive line in front of goal, even if the price is still stuck at 0.54, 0.55. But Morocco's ask wall is massive, so upside is Brazil's still range-bound 8.54055, but the real tell is the draw market. Ask depth just ballooned north of 600K, so traders are leaning hard against a stalemate. That's classic late first half positioning. Everyone crowds the middle of the pit.
That ball gets glanced on and you can see them squinting. This son is an extra defender out there messing with judgment and timing. One misread in that glare and it's a gift-wrapped chance, especially with these two sniffing blood early. Diaz with the little escape act, silky under pressure, but Morocco read it and snapped the door shut. Now Paqueta spins on the outside and he's being tugged like a kid's backpack. Ref's got a decision brewing here.
That new Brazil whale stepping in around my 5'8" is real conviction, but Spot still can't clear our 5'5". So the market's basically saying, nice story, show me the goal. And look at those comically high top ask levels, near 4.970.
Masraoui bombs on the overlap and Brazil are scrambling to match that pace. Proper wing play. And the referee waves it away. No whistle, no sympathy. You can feel the temperature rising with every play on call. He cuts it inside. Now we're talking, that's where panic lives for defenders. One clean touch, one quick shot or slip pass, and Brazil's shape can crack like thin ice.
Brazil's trying to stabilize back at 0.52 to 0.53, but this is still a shaky rebound. Bid depth is only 21K versus a big 221K of supply overhead. That draw bid popping up at 0.20 feels like a trader parking the bus.
Morocco are stroking it around with real swagger down that right. Little give and goes, almost like they're trying to walk it into the net. The shot finally comes, but Samira reads it clean and smothers the danger, and Brazil get a breather with the throw. Morocco are purring on that right side. Diaz and Mahimi just teasing Santos inch by inch like they've got all night. They finally pull the trigger, but Samira stands tall and gathers the danger, and it spins out for a throw to keep the pressure cooking.
Brazil's price is holding, but the support is getting thinner. Bid depth slips again while the sell side stack grows, so any decent sell order can knock this down a peg. Meanwhile, the draw bid stepping up to 0.24 is the market screaming low.
New coach, new voice, and you can see the spark already. Morocco look like they've been plugged into a socket. And there's Masraoui bursting outside, then darting inside. That's the kind of run that makes defenders' legs turn to jelly. Bruno throws himself in the way. Absolutely fearless. That's a defender's badge of honor. Morocco thought they'd carved it open, but that block just slammed the door and Brazil breathe again.
Brazil just slipped to a clean 50-51 and that sentiment cooling. Favorites no longer dictating the tempo. Morocco's getting real support now at 22-23 with bid depth basically matching Brazil, so this is starting to look like a proper coin flip second half where one break decides.
Morocco are squeezing Brazil like a vice right now. Double teams, second balls, and that throw-in feels like another wave crashing in. They're sniffing around the top of the box, but Paqueta's block is a lifeline. Can Brazil survive this press without coughing it up again?
Brazil just lost the 50 handle 49.50 now, and that's the market saying favorites wobbling, even with decent bid depth sitting underneath. Draw is creeping up to 28-29. Classic late game nerves trade. Nobody wants to overcommit, they just want to not lose. Brazil snaps back to 50-51, and the big tell is the ask wall thinning hard. Sell pressure just got pulled, so the path up is suddenly less crowded. But the draw bid depth collapsing to under 8K screams, no one wants to defend that price. So if
Morocco are pressing like a market squeeze. Brazil look a man short in that 4-4-2, and it's creating overloads. Any quick analogy on how teams adjust when momentum swings like this?
Spot on, Leo. When momentum flips like that, it's like a stock breaking support. You either add liquidity fast or you gap lower. Brazil's adjustment is the classic drop a midfielder, slow the tempo, basically parking the bus to stop the order flow. Brazil's back to 49.50, but the real story is liquidity evaporating. Bid depth collapsed to just 15K, so one decent sell clip can knock this down a full tick. Morocco firming at 22-23 feels like the underdog winning second ball.
Morocco's midfield just swarmed like bees there, snapping the ball back and killing Brazil's rhythm. Rafinha couldn't quite get it under control, and suddenly it drops kindly. Mazraoui licking his lips. This is danger building again. Oh, that first touch is silk. El Canaus just ghosted past Ibanez down the outside. Now Wadi's on it, and Brazil are backpedaling fast, praying the cross doesn't find a red shirt in the middle.
Brazil slipping to 49%, while the draw ticks up to 30%. That's the market pricing in "this could get cagey." Bid depth on Brazil refilled, but that massive ask stack is like Morocco sitting in a low block. Every rally runs into We're stuck in a tight range. Brazil 49.50, draw 29.30, classic stalemate pricing. But look at the book. Huge ask depth across all outcomes, so any pop is likely to get sold into unless a real catalyst hits.
Oof, that's a proper cruncher. Gabriel finally plants his flag and says no more, and Brazil breathe out with that free kick. Morocco have been dancing past those flyby challenges all night, though. Every time Diaz and El Canaus turn, you can feel the panic ripple through the...
That's a clean down tick. Brazil off to 47.48, and the win prob leaks to 48%, so sentiment's turning from favorite to fragile. With that towering Brazil ask depth, every bounce is getting headed away like a desperate clearance, while Morocco quietly inches up at 20.
And just like that, a loose touch flips the switch. El Canaus is off in transition, Morocco smelling blood again, but Brazil swarm him with 4 yellow shirts, slam the door, and they'll take the foul if it stops the break. Smart, if a bit desperate.
Brazil catches a small bid back to 48.49, but it's not a breakout. There's still a wall of supply overhead. Draw liquidity is building too, which screams late game nerves, like both teams playing not to concede rather than to win. Now Brazil's leaking again to 46, 47, and the bid depth thins out. This is the favorite getting pushed back into its own half. Morocco's up to 24, 25 with stronger bid support, so the crowd's starting to believe in the upset, and that's when volatility usually spikes.
Oh, that turnover is a gift, and Morocco pounce. El Canaus and Ounahi trying to shimmy through. No whistle, play on. Sabari turns and lets it fly, but it's smothered. Still, you can feel the confidence surging every time they nick it back.
Brazil's price firms a hair, but the real story is liquidity drying up on the bid side, especially the draw, where depth is basically a puddle. That's a market that can gap on one decent order, like a sloppy back pass begging to be punished.
They really are. Morocco are in Brazil's head right now, snapping into tackles and turning every touch into a question mark. Brazil want rhythm, but they're getting sand in the gears, and the crowd can sense that irritation boiling. Absolutely. Morocco are squeezing the life out of Brazil's buildup, and you can see the yellow shirts getting twitchy. Every trap they set is like a little tax on Brazil's patience, and that bill is piling up fast. Morocco have got them rattled, no doubt. Brazil can't get a clean second pass without someone snapping at their heels. It's like trying to play samba in a phone booth, and the frustration is starting to show in every hurried touch.
Big change. Bids just refilled hard on Brazil in the draw, so someone's stepping in to defend these levels. But that Brazil ask stack 8.56 is like a parked bus. If price runs, it's got a lot of traffic to get through before you can call it momentum. Draw bids just stepped up aggressively. Seeing size parked up at 0.23 tells you traders are bracing for a stalemate and trying to front-run the move. Brazil's still stuck at 47.48, so the favorite isn't taking control. It's more like the market's playing for penalties. Whoa, liquidity just vanished across the board, especially draw and Morocco bids, and that's when spreads start acting like a trampoline. Brazil's price hasn't moved, but with this thin support, one decent sell can knock it down a tick or two fast, like a team losing shape after.
Brazil look rattled early, finger pointing in the back line, Ancelotti animated on the touchline. Feels like a team missing key pieces. Any market-style take on how absences and pressure can snowball into panic decisions?
Absolutely. When a favorite's missing starters, the market slaps on a risk premium fast, and every shaky touch widens the spread. Pressure turns small errors into forced trades, like defenders hoofing it long instead of building out. Panic is contagious.
Brazil looked disjointed, finger pointing in the back line. Ancelotti already animated on the touchline. Feels like a team missing key pieces and paying the injury tax early. Got any market-style take on how absences hit confidence and structure?
Nailed it. Missing pieces is like pulling liquidity from a book. The structure looks fine until the first hit, then everything gaps. Confidence is the bid. Once it steps away, even routine passes get priced like high volatility events.
Hakimi tries to wriggle it out and zip it inside. Thiago goes up, but it just skims off him, and Brazil breathed for a heartbeat. You can feel the nerves, though. One loose header and Morocco are in like thieves in the night.
We've got liquidity coming back, but it's defensive. Bids are rebuilding while the offers are still a wall, so upside is capped unless a real catalyst hits. Morocco's the tell. That chunky ask around 42 is like a counterattack trap, daring buyers.
It can, absolutely. Nothing wakes up a sleeping giant like a chance that big flashing right in front of goal. But if they don't turn that spark into a proper spell of pressure, Morocco will just grin and keep squeezing the life out of them.
Bids are thickening. Brazil, and especially the draw, are seeing real depth come in, so the floor is getting sturdier even if the price is stuck. But that massive offer overhang is still parking the bus. Until it clears, rallies are going to feel like running into a backfire.
Austin launches it, Rafinha does well under that blazing sun to keep it alive, and Brazil look happier going a bit more vertical. Use that pace like a switchblade. If they can drag Hakimi inside and free Rafinha between the lines, suddenly Vinny's got grass.
Brazil's bid depth just jumped, but the win probability actually ticked down. Classic support buying, while sentiment softens. And Morocco's spread tightening to 0.23, 0.24, with lighter offers feels like they're growing.
Podcat spots the run and tries to thread it, but Bono reads it like tomorrow's headlines. Calm hands, no drama. Brazil are sniffing around, though. Those little darts in behind are starting to ask questions.
Brazil just got a little lift. Bid ask steps up to 0.48, 0.49, and win odds nudge higher, so the crowd's leaning back into the favorite. But the sell side is still a big defensive line. Without a clean goal moment, this move can stall fast. Now you're seeing the other outcomes leak. Draw and Morocco both tick down a cent on the top of book, while Brazil holds firm 80.48, 0.49. That's risk on toward the favorite, but with Morocco bid depth rising, it's still a two-way match. If draw money is quietly stepping up, bid depth jumps while price stays pinned at 0.288, 0.29, so someone's building a position without chasing. Brazil's still the favorite, but this is like a team hoarding possession with no shots on target. Brazil's book is getting healthier. Bid depth up again and asks easing a touch, so buyers are controlling the tempo. But the draw market's still wearing a huge sell wall, and Morocco's bid depth is creeping higher, so any wobble and that late equalizer.
Thiago nips in a bit too eager, and Brazil's frustration is bubbling. Options just aren't there when they turn. That duel with Vinny is turning into a proper captain's battle, and you can feel both benches leaning forward every time it spills loose. Thiago's pressing like a man possessed, but that foul just hands Morocco a breather, and Brazil can't afford gifts when they're already short of ideas. You can see Gabriel's frustration, and that Marquinhos-Hakimi duel has that PSG edge to it, sparks every time.
Brazil finally pushes up a notch, 2.49, 0.5e, and hits 50%. That's the market saying favorite back in control. But notice draw bid depth thinning hard. If this turns cagey again, there's less cushion and you can get a quick snapback move.
Every time Pucciatelli touches it, the crowd rises like a wave. He's got them on a string. Casemiro tries to spark it, Rafino cushions it, but Bono's out sharp, and then he fluffs the punt, and Brazil will fancy pouncing on that mistake.
That's a clean momentum push. Brazil up to 0.51 with ask depth dropping, so sellers are backing off and the favorites pressing high. Morocco slipping to 0.21, 0.22 tells you the upset hedge is getting benched, but if any bad headline hits, that whoa, liquidity just evaporated on draw in Morocco. Bid depth collapses to single digits while the ask walls stay huge. So downside is basically an open trapdoor. Brazil's still steady, 0.51, but this is a
You can feel the crowd begging for a bit of samba, but right now it's Morocco making the noise while Brazil cough it up too easily. Lovely nick in midfield, the slip pass is on, and Hakimi snaps it shut at the last second like slamming a door in Vinny's face. It's a strange hush, isn't it? Brazilian fans almost waiting to be convinced, while the Moroccan end is singing their lungs out. Thiago wins it, Rafinha tries the little dagger pass, but Vini can't swivel, and Hakimi times it perfectly.
Liquidity just vanished on draw in Morocco, bid depth down to 8K and 5K, while Brazil ticks up to 52%. Feels like a stadium going quiet before a big moment. Can you riff on momentum, crowd psychology, and how one chance can swing odds fast?
Spot on. This has that pre-storm hush where everyone's holding their breath, and one clean Vinny burst or a Morocco counter is a single match to the tinder. Momentum in the stands flips in seconds, and the odds can lurch the same way off one big chance or a VR flag.
Absolutely, Leo. This is a low liquidity pitch right now, so one big chance is like a red card for pricing. Instant repricing, no time to set the defense. Brazil's edging up, but with Morocco and draw bids so thin, the whipsaw risk is real.
That's exactly it. Crowd psychology is like market depth. One big chance is a sudden buy wall. Everyone wakes up at once and the price snaps. Right now it's tense and quiet, but a corner or a Vinny burst can flip momentum in seconds and the odds will swing like a late candle.
Nailed it. Right now, the book's like a stadium holding its breath, and a single corner is the market order that clears levels fast. With Brazil AT 0.51, 0.52, the path of least resistance is up, but it'll be a jagged ride.
That's exactly it. When the crowd holds its breath, the market does too. One clean chance and the noise and the money floods back in a heartbeat. Brazil edging up feels like traders leaning forward, waiting for a spark. A single corner or break can flip momentum.
Totally, and now with depth beefing up, that one chance instant gap risk drops a bit, more like a packed midfield slowing the break. But with those heavy asks overhead, any rally still needs a real catalyst to punch through.
It drops into that danger zone and Brazil sniff a second ball, but Morocco slammed the door with a frantic clearance. Proper street fight defending. That's the kind of scramble that keeps a crowd buzzing and an attack believing.
Massive momentum flip in the market. Brazil win prob dumped from 52% to 32%, while Morocco jumped to 40%, and bid depth across the board is paper thin. Classic red card goal style shock where one play rewrites belief instantly. Absolutely, this book is paper thin now, so any decent size order is basically a counterattack into open space. Morocco's jumped to the front, but with liquidity this light, the lead can change faster than my last-minute fantasy lineup. Liquidity's back a bit on the bids, but it's still a lopsided book. Huge sell-side overhead means rallies can get headed away. Exactly, one clinical finish is a market-wide repricing, like a surprise CPI print that nukes the old range. And with Morocco's bids finally stacking, that goal has follow-through fuel, not just a one-candle spike.
That's a killer little slip pass, threaded like a needle in a storm. One touch and you're in. Brazil's backline is spinning, trying to find runners, and the stadium can feel the chants swelling.
Morocco's bid depth just showed up in size. This is the first real midfield control we've seen, and it's why they're edging up to 41%. Brazil's stuck in a low 30s range with heavy overhead supply, so any bounce looks like a counter that runs out of grass fast.
That scoop finish is the ultimate sentiment shock. One calm touch and the whole belief curve snaps. Brazil's midfield gave the passer all day, and Morocco cashed it like a perfect trade. Timing, space, and ruthless execution.
We're seeing a real liquidity rebuild on the bid side now. Brazil and the draw both doubled up in depth, yet price isn't lifting, which screams supply overhang. Morocco still wears the captain's armband at 42%, but this is a tense stalemate where one...
Morocco's scouting is like a smart portfolio. Spain, Belgium, Netherlands, they've diversified and it's paying dividends right now. Sibari's value just spiked with that finish. Talk to me about finding undervalued assets like that.
Brazil's spread just tightened and the bid stack 8E30 is getting chunky. Buyers are finally planting a flag instead of nibbling, but Morocco's still got the deeper bid book and the market's basically playing keep ball around 40%, waiting for the next headline. Draw liquidity just surged on the bid side, but the price won't budge. Classic, everyone wants the same hedge and the market makes you pay up later. Morocco's still the favorite with Totally. This is the coach's halftime in miniature. Yeah, that's Brazil playing not to lose, and markets punish that. Volatility rises because you're giving the other side time and territory. Risk management here is stepping up the press and taking controlled fouls, not retreating into a low liquidity defense.
IMO, Morocco's pressing, and that Sabari finish feel like a growth stock breaking out. Brazil's midfield giving space like a market with no resistance. What's your take on Ancelotti's adjustment moment here at the hydration break? IMO, Morocco's up 1-0 and the crowd's bouncing. Ancelotti's got to rebalance the portfolio fast. What's your take on Brazil's risk management when they keep backing off like that?
Now you're seeing real conviction. Morocco's bid depth nearly doubled, and there's a proper wall 8-0 at 40, so dips are getting bought like a team protecting a one-goal lead. Draw money also firmed up with that big 0.28 bid stack, while Brazil's top...
Ha, that ad's got more positions than a box-to-box midfielder. Everyone's getting an assist today. Meanwhile, on the pitch, Morocco are the ones actually delivering, and Brazil need a tactical shopping trip of their own fast. That commercial's doing 1-2s with itself. Flip it, paint it, deliver it, and somehow we've ended up ordering croissants. If Brazil don't wake up, Morocco will be the ones planting it like Patrick right into the top corner again.
Morocco's book is screaming frontrunner now. Big support 8-0 at 40, and importantly, that heavy offer down at 0.81 suggests some traders are taking profit early, not waiting for 0.999. Brazil's still stuck in the 0.29 to...
This ad's got more cameos than a World Cup opening ceremony. 1 minute it's beehives, next minute it's croissants. But back in the real drama, Morocco are buzzing, and Brazil look like they've left their tools in the dressing room. Mo, that Wells Fargo 2% cashback spot just hit. Give us the quick market angle. Are banks still the safe play, or is this just glossy ad time while rates and credit risk bite?
Good ad, but the tape's the tape. Banks look safe only if credit stays clean and funding costs don't creep higher. Right now, it's more a defensive holding than a growth story. Steady dividends, but one bad credit cycle and it's a red card. That Morocco bid depth just collapsed from 200K to about 100K, while price holds 0.41 till 0.42. Classic, support got pulled, like defenders stepping up and leaving space behind. If Brazil gets one clean chance, this can snap back.
IMO, they're hyping Blues versus Senegal, then Messi and Argentina. Give us a quick market-style take. Who's the blue chip? Who's the risky growth play? And what's the earning surprise moment to watch?
Draw liquidity just vanished on the bid side. Top bid showing down at 0.02 is basically an empty midfield, so any sell pressure could gap it hard. Morocco's still priced as the leader at 0.41, 0.42, but with bids thin, this market's one headline. Liquidity just got yanked across the board, bid depth is collapsing, and Morocco's top bid at 0.01 screams no real support, like a team parking the bus with nobody actually in the box. In this kind of thin book, prices can jump on air.
Ancelotti's ice cold, isn't he? Like he's ordering an espresso while everyone else is sweating bullets. That little shuffle smells like a reset button for Brazil, and the quick restart says, we're done talking, now we punch. Let's see if it sparks them into life. Oof, that's a statement whistle. Vinicius laying down the law after letting plenty go earlier. Vinicius takes the knock and you can feel Brazil's bench bristle, like right now we're awake. And then that pass sails, momentum wasted in a heartbeat.
Brazil just took a hit when prob slipping, and that top bid down at 0.01 tells you real support stepped off the pitch. Meanwhile, Morocco's still holding 0.41, 0.42 with healthier depth, so the crowd's leaning their way unless Brazil gets a sudden... Morocco just ticked up to 0.42, 0.43, and that's the market saying momentum's with them, even if the book is still weirdly air-pocketed with those tiny top bid levels. Brazil's stuck at 0.28, 0.29 with heavy offers overhead.
That Brazil shirt carries history like a heavyweight belt, and you can feel the nerves every time they're forced to chase. Great nick of the ball there, and Hakimi's got jet fuel down that flank. Brazil retreating, trying to hold the line, but that final ball... Brazil wearing that 5-star crown, and every loose touch feels like it weighs a ton. Mazzari nicks it clean, Hakimi hits the afterburners, and Brazil are suddenly in reverse, danger flashing, but the delivery runs away, and that's a let-off. IMO, Morocco firing 8 shots already. Brazil looking like a blue chip under pressure. Give us the market analogy. Is this a temporary dip or a full-on sell-off vibe? He tries to ride it, but he's run straight into a brick wall there. Morocco snapping into tackles and winning those second balls. Mazraoui back in the mix despite that shoulder, and you can sense the crowd lift as Hakimi gets it again. Here comes the surge. Asamero thinks he's gliding through, and then bang, traffic jam, ball gone. Morocco are biting. Mazraoui's shoulder might be taped together with hope, but he's still charging. And now Hakimi on it again. Brazil, don't blink.
Brazil's getting a tiny bounce to 0.26, 0.27, but don't confuse that with a comeback. Bid depth is still light, and the offers are stacked like a packed away end. Morocco holding 0.43044. With better support, says the market's still playing in the...
He tried to wriggle free, but Douglas Santos stood him up like a bouncer at the door. No entry. That's a proper defensive moment, and it just takes the sting out of Morocco's run for a heartbeat.
Morocco's now 0.45, 0.46, and that's the market putting them in the driver's seat. Momentum trade is alive and well. Brazil back to 0.25, 0.26 with thin bids and a wall of asks, so any bad touch can turn it.
Wabi's got them playing with a paintbrush instead of a hammer, still winning, but now with flair and bite. Raheem Diaz gets clipped, and Morocco have another set piece in a tasty spot. Brazil's line better be switched on. This is trouble.
Morocco cools a hair to 0.4G45, but that's just a breather, not a trend break. Brazil's still stuck 0.25, 0.26 with way more supply than support. This is like parking the bus with no midfield. You might survive a minute, but you're not flipping momentum without...
Sun dropping, shadows creeping, and you can feel the tension rise with it. This is prime set-piece theater. They whip it viciously to the near stick, but Gabriel reads it and hacks it clear. Brazil survived that one by a whisker. Diaz had a clean sight of it, and you could feel the trigger finger itching. Then thud, it's smothered at the last second. The rebound pops right back into the danger zone, and Brazil are scrambling like they've dropped their keys in the dark. Diaz lines it up again. This is the kind of look you dream of, and once more it's slammed shut by a brave block. The ball ricochets straight back into the mixer as he's winding up. Brazil living on the edge here.
Brazil just ticked down to 0.24 to 0.25, even as bid depth jumps, so someone's finally showing up to defend, but they're defending lower. Morocco staying 0.45, 0.46 keeps the momentum with the favorites. This feels like Brazil getting pushed back into their own box. Brazil's price is pinned at 0.23, 0.24, but the bid depth just refilled hard. That's bargain hunters stepping in, trying to build a floor. Morocco staying 0.47, 0.48 says the tape still respects their lead, so Brazil needs a real catalyst. We've got liquidity whiplash, draw and Morocco bids refilled, but Morocco's win prob still slips to 20%, so that's more hedging than conviction. Brazil stays glued at 0.45, 0.46 with a bigger sell-side canopy overhead, so upside needs a real... Brazil just took a small step back, bid-ask shifts down to 0.444, 0.45, and win prob slips to 44%, so momentum's cooling. Draw ticks up a notch and Morocco holds, but with thin bid depth there, one big order could swing this like a late counterattack.
IMO, that tactical yellow on Diaz's break is pure stop-the-rally stuff, like a circuit breaker in the market. Morocco still out shooting Brazil. Feels like Brazil need their blue-chip wingers higher to change momentum.
Spot on, Leo. Those professional fouls are exactly how markets kill a breakout before it prints. With Morocco pressing, Brazil's price action looks heavy. Until the big money steps up, it's like parking the bus and hoping for a lucky bounce. Brazil's still the favorite on price, but that top bid sitting way down at 0.05 screams phantom support that if 0.04 cracks, there's a trapdoor beneath it. Meanwhile, draw liquidity is back and win prob up to 37%, so the market's quietly bracing for a stalemate. Brazil's back to 0.45, 0.46, and win prob ticks up, but notice the tell. Draw and Morocco bid depth is drying up again, so the underdog side has no real backstop. That's a classic momentum game. One Brazil push and those thin books can gap like... Brazil's holding the 0.45, 0.46 line, but the real story is Morocco leaking to 19%. That's the market fading the upset. Draw softens a tick too, so this is risk coming off the anything can happen trade and rotating back to the favorite.
Morocco have looked the sharper blade for long spells, snapping into tackles and outshooting them, but Brazil only need one flash of Vinicius and the stadium tilts. And that Paqueta hit forcing Bono into action. Now you feel the momentum swinging, corners piling up like in... Morocco have been on top in volume, but Brazil's goal and Paqueta forcing Bono into a corner feels like momentum shifting, like a market that's been bearish all day suddenly catching a bid. How do you read that swing?
Yeah, that's the classic bad news can't push it lower moment. Morocco had the flow, but Brazil just found a real bid and shorts start covering. Once the favorite scores, the tape flips fast and the draw trade gets squeezed.
Rafinha stands over it. This is where Brazil can turn pressure into profit in one swing. Morocco have to win that first header, because if it drops in the mixer, it's chaos and carnival time in the box. Rafinha over the ball again. He's got that little pause like he's about to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Morocco can't switch off for a second here. One loose touch and Brazil will pounce like it's street football on Copacabana. Rafinha's got the set piece loaded. This is a moment where Brazil can cash in with one wicked delivery. Morocco's line is tight, elbows out, eyes wide. If that ball dips, it's...
Totally. VAR is like tighter risk controls. Players still press, but they hesitate on the reckless tackle because the audit is coming. Net effect is lower chaos premium, and that usually props up the favorite while squeezing the long shot adrenaline trick. Brazil's price actually slips back to 0.440. Yes, circuit breakers don't stop risk, they change the timing. You get fewer wild lunges, more calculated pressure. Same here, VR makes everyone play a half step safer, and that usually dampens the upset volatility. Brazil firms back to 0.45, 0.46, but it's not a clean breakout. There's still a mountain of offers overhead, so rallies can stall quickly. Draw is steady, AT 0.36, 0.37, with a bit more bid showing, like the crowd hedging late in the match. Morocco...
VAR taking corners away feels like a market correction. Refs hedging their calls, knowing review can reverse it. Quick take. Does that change risk appetite for on-field decisions like traders with a safety net? That VAR point is like markets. Refs hedge their calls knowing they can be corrected later. Does that change risk-taking behavior the way traders act with circuit breakers?
Brazil's back 8044 note 45, but look at that ask depth. Sellers are stacked like a parked bus, so upside gets capped unless a real catalyst hits. The draw book suddenly has a chunky bid 8030. That's smart money hedging for late drama.
Hakimi throws himself in there like a man buying time on the clock, wins it clean, and he's got the ref nodding along. Brazil were winding up a counter, and suddenly it's Morocco with a breather and a free kick. Clever stuff.
Brazil stuck 8.44 0.45, but the key change is that earlier 0.73 sell wall vanished and got replaced by the classic 0.99 I'll sell it in extra time offer, so near-term resistance may be lighter. Draw liquidity cooled off again, which tells you that got a real bid up at 0.1 now, so the upset tail risk is being priced a touch more seriously.
IMO. That line sounds like a trailer. What's the market's perfect wonder right now, and is it a bargain or a trap?
I hear you, Leo. The perfect wonder is that fat Morocco bid at Salwa 117. It looks like cheap upset insurance, but it can be a trap if it's just spoofing to scare Brazil longs. If it holds, momentum shifts like a counterattack. If it vanishes, Brazil pops.
And that's the ad break wrapping its arms around the game. PG Monsters, July 1st, get your popcorn, sure. But we're back to business now, 1-1, and you can feel this one ready to bite as soon as the whistle goes.
Brazil's support just slipped down to 0.43 on the top level, so the favorites' footing is a bit shakier, even if the headline price still reads bang 44 euro 0.45. Meanwhile, Morocco's bid depth is swelling, a 0.1.
Ha! That's the classic thanks dad tackle. Half love, half eye roll, all heart. Now let's see if the players come out with that same edge, because this second half's got fireworks written all over it. That line never gets old. Be safe. And the reply says, I will, but I'm still going in hard. Now back to the pitch, because 81-1, nobody's playing it safe out there.
Brazil's bid just got supercharged. Story 4-4 is now a monster stack, so the favorites got a real home crowd behind it, even if price hasn't lifted yet. Draw ticked up to 0.37, 0.38, but that 0.38 ask wall is still parking the bus. Morocco. Draw is quietly gaining possession, win prob up to 38%, and the bid's firming, but it still can't break through that 0.38 wall. Brazil's 0.44 support remains huge, yet sellers are thickening 8.46, so upside looks like a grind.
IMO, that adds basically a betting market pitch. You got bonus bets for every goal. Quick take, how do promos like that juice risk taking, and what's the real cost to punters?
Yeah, Leo, promos are like handing out free corner kicks. Everyone starts shooting from bad angles because it feels subsidized. The real cost is wider spreads and worse pricing as books bake the promo into odds, so free turns into paying extra over time.
IMO, that betting ad's pushing Norway as a dark horse. Give us the quick take. Are these bonus bet promos value or just volatility dressed up as confidence?
Totally, Leo. Those promos are volatility in a shiny kit. They nudge people into longer shots like dark horses because the downside feels cushioned. The value's usually recycled back via tougher lines and faster churn, so confidence is often just marketing momentum. Yep, per goal promos are like paying fans for every shot on target. Suddenly, everyone wants a 4-3 thriller and overextends. The house prices that excitement in with tighter odds and higher hold, so it's usually marketing sparkle, not free value. Brazil's turning into a proper tug of war. That Zandlai 4-4 bid wall just ballooned, but the Zoint 4-6 ask is now almost as big. Two teams parked in midfield, nobody breaking lines. Win prob slipping to 44% tells you the market's respecting the stalemate risk. Yeah, Leo, it's not just noise. When everyone's not compromising while giving stuff away, that's margin pressure dressed up as confidence. It screams promo war to defend volume, like teams pressing high because they're scared to sit back.
40 days on the road and you're still in a haze. Sounds like extra time in the desert. Legs gone, mind spinning. But if we can just make it to the finish line, that's where the magic happens. That's where the crowd lifts you.
Brazil's got a sturdier floor now. Bid depth jumped, and that 4-4 wall thickened, so buyers are stepping in like a team protecting a one-goal lead. But the sell side is still heavier overall, so any rally into 0.46 looks like it'll meet a hard tackle. Draw liquidity. Now that's a real shift. Brazil's sell wall just collapsed, ask depth down hard, and that 0.46 top-ass size got chopped, which opens the door for a quick pop if buyers lean in. The 0.4 bid wall is still massive, so downside looks cushioned. This feels... That sell-side relief didn't last. Brazil ask depth just refilled fast, and now the top offer is sitting right on 0.45, basically parking the bus in front of any breakout. Draw bids also thinned, so the market's turning a bit more cautious after that brief surge. Leo, Brazil book just flipped ugly. Bid depth dropped hard while ask depth ballooned with a huge 0.45 offer. Feels like momentum stalled and crowd got nervous. Can you frame this like a team suddenly sitting deep and inviting pressure?
Absolutely, Amo. When the bids vanish and that big offer parks itself, it's like Brazil just dropped into a low block and started hoofing it clear. The other side smells fear, pins them back, and suddenly every touch feels like a clearance, not a pass.
Brazil's order book just flipped ugly. Bid depth got yanked while the 0.45 offer ballooned past 1 million shares. Classic supply on the touch, like a defense stepping up for an offside trap. Morocco's ask stack also surged. Brazil's implied odds just ticked down to 44%, while that 0.45 sell wall keeps getting thicker, over 1 million shares now. So every push higher is meeting a wall of supply. Draw liquidity is also leaning offer heavy, which screams risk-off positioning rather than a breakout move.
What a wild halftime cocktail. Walmart deliveries, then Vinny Jr. delivering the equalizer like a superstar signing on deadline day. Brazil looks shaky in possession. Morocco are snapping into tackles and running the show, but one flash of magic has them left.
Not much follow-through. Brazil's still pinned between Norway 44 and Goy 45, and that offer stack remains the dominant force, so buyers are basically taking shots from outside the box. Draw probability slipping back to 37% tells you the market's consolidating, not chasing.
AT&T talking about connection like a midfield metronome. Keep it ticking or the whole team falls apart. And that too loud line, in football, loud is life. It's the 12th man roaring you over the line. That's the soundtrack of a World Cup night. If it's quiet, something's gone wrong. Loud means belief, pressure, and panic in the opponent's back line, like a stadium turning into a wave that just won't stop.
Brazil's win odds nudged back up, but price can't lift because that 45 wall is still massive. Sellers are controlling the tempo. Morocco's still lopsided on the offer too, so the whole tape feels like sell the rip until one of these walls finally gets cleared. We're still stuck in that tight 0.45 channel. Brazil's bid depth is steady, but the sell side is the bouncer at the door with that 0.45 stack. Until that offer thins out, upside is a grind, and any spike looks more like a quick counterattack than Draw just ticked back up to 38%, but the real story is still that Brazil can't get through the 0.45 backline with 1 million plus shares waiting. This is a range market. Traders are playing the spread, not betting on a clean breakaway.
IMO, that IBM pitch is like saying you can play one-touch football without ever training together. If the data's already in shape, you skip the 18-month preseason. And Valvoline, that's pure engine room grit, keeping the legs pumping when the match turns into
Now you're seeing the bids thinning. Brazil top bid size dropped, and Morocco bid depth also slid, so the support side is losing a bit of muscle. But that 0.45 sell wall is still parked like a bus in the box, keeping price glued in place.
That's a classy gesture, giving back to the people who've already given everything, full respect. And one guy, two hats, all heart sounds like a utility player, not always flashy, but you trust him when the game gets tense. Respect where it's due. Offering that first year free to service members and families is a strong move. And Will Kane with two hats, all heart. That's the captain vibe. Steady voice, big lungs, keeps the crowd and the team locked in.
That's a meaningful softening on the bid side. Brazil depth keeps leaking and the draw book just got noticeably thinner too, so liquidity is backing away. With the 0.45 offer still stacked, this starts to look like tired legs late in the match. Easier to slip lower than to break.
That's a full-on Texas kickoff. 4 o'clock, straight into the action, no warm-up needed. And Fox Weather saying, for all seasons, is like a manager reading the wind and rain before the big match because conditions can flip a game in a heartbeat. Whoa, that's a quick substitution call. Get the kit changed and keep it moving. Just don't take your eyes off the play too long because the moment you blink, bang, the game can punish you.
Big momentum shift. Brazil bid depth just collapsed. Top bid 824K, 423K, while the 0.45 sell wall stays huge. Draw top bid even slipped to 0.35 and Morocco bid to 0.17. Can you frame this like a team losing midfield control?
Absolutely, Amo. This is Brazil losing the midfield screen in real time. That top bid having is a sloppy giveaway. And that 0.45 sell wall is the back line holding firm. You can feel the crowd tighten up as draw and Morocco drift.
That's a real liquidity air pocket. Brazil's top bid just got chopped in half and Morocco's best support slipped to 0.17. Buyers are backing off. Meanwhile, the draw ask ballooned, so the market's basically parking the bus and daring someone to take risk. Brazil just lost the 0.4 bid and slipped to 0.43. Classic momentum fade when the buyers step off the gas. Draw tightened to 0.36 while 0.37, but the offer stack is massive, so any rally attempt is running into a wall of supply like a striker into 3 cents.
Oh, I love that swagger. Rooting for the great is like backing the heavyweight champ, but the underdogs got that street fight magic. And Morocco-Brazil at 2-1, that's a rope-a-dope first half, both sides feeling each other out. Now the second half's ready to bite. That's the tunnel talk right there. One goal, no sightseeing, just business. When teams say bigger fish, you know the tempo's about to spike because everyone's playing for pride, points, and a place in the story. You can hear the edge in that. No distractions, just a single target on the board. Bigger fish to fry is code for, we're not here to trade shirts, we're here to take scalps, and the whole world's watching.
Brazil's quote is wobbling. Best bid flashes back to 0.44, but the real support is sitting down at 0.43, so it's a shaky floor. And the draw is getting heavier on the sell side. That's crowd psychology turning cautious, like everyone playing for penalties instead of going for the winner. Brazil's price is holding, but it's holding on fumes. Bid depth is still light versus that huge 0.45 sell wall, so upside looks capped unless a big buyer shows up. Draw remains the safety trade, but with that thick offer stack, it's more grind than breakout.
That ad read came in like a winger doing stepovers for 30 seconds, flashy, loud, and somehow you're still watching. Here comes the lion, his pure striker ego, and the sweet tart bit, that's the palate cleanser before the next crunching tackle.
Brazil's still pinned 8.44 but notice the real demand is clustering 8.43. Buyers are setting a lower line of scrimmage. Morocco's offer stack 8.19 just got even fatter, so any upset bid is getting smothered unless that wall starts.
That's not magic, that's repetition turning into instinct, like a midfielder who knows the pass before the ball arrives. Trust your sweat is the real spell in football. Grind, belief, and then the moment comes and it looks effortless. Is it in you? That's the question every player answers when the legs go heavy and the crowd gets loud, and on a beautiful day with the kids, all right, that's when football feels like a festival, until the first crunching challenge snaps everyone back.
Brazil's bid depth just firmed up, more money showing up on the buy side, so the floor 0.43 looks a bit better defended, but the 0.45 offer is still a packed stadium, and Morocco's probability ticking down tells you the crowd's leaning back to the face.
IMO, they're selling predictions like they're selling cars. What's your take on this predict anything hype, and is it just volatility dressed up as certainty?
Yeah, Leo, it's volatility in a suit. People love the scoreboard even when the match is chaos. The edge goes to whoever reads liquidity and timing, not whoever shouts the loudest. Most of the crowd is just chasing momentum like a late tackle.
He's reading it like a chess master, spots the lane, and suddenly the ball's flying into the mixer. That delivery's begging for a finish. Does anyone attack it with conviction, or are they just admiring the view? That's the kind of forecast every manager hates. Slick pitch, skidding tackles, and the ball turning into a bar of soap. If it pours, the brave thrive and the fancy footwork starts filing complaints.
Brazil's still stuck 8.045, but the story is that ass side just reloaded, more supply overhead, so rallies are getting headed away like crosses into a packed box. Draw is steady, Morocco's still the long shot with heavy offers, so sentiment remains favorite. Whoa. Brazil's bid depth just fell off a cliff, and that's a classic liquidity pulled moment. The quote looks fine, but the support underneath is suddenly thin. With a massive sell wall still sitting up at 0.45, any push high. Brazil just slipped another tick to 0.42, 0.43, and the sell side is getting heavier. 1.7 mm of offers is a real ceiling. Morocco's ass depth thinning is interesting though. If Brazil wobbles again, that underdog price can sprint like a counterattack. Now that's a momentum swing. Draw just got real support with that 0.37 bid stacked, while Brazil's bid depth is still flimsy and the tape's showing a monster bearish Brazil position taking the armband. Feels like the market's parking the bus on stalemate and daring Brazil to break. Draws becoming the crowded trade. Big bid at Y37 and the Y38 offer thinning out, so it's got room to grind higher if buyers keep pressing. Brazil's still pinned with light support and a chunky 0.43 sell wall, so any bounce looks like a weak clearance, not a breakaway. Order book looks like a sudden liquidity vacuum. Brazil bid depth collapsed to 25K with a huge sell wall at 0.42, while draw ticks up to 0.38, 0.39, but its bid depth also evaporated. Can you frame this like a late game momentum swing crowd?
Absolutely. This is like the 88th minute when one sloppy clearance empties the midfield. Suddenly there's no cover, everyone retreats, and the crowd feels the wobble. That sell wall at 0.42 is the big center back planting himself on the goal.
Nailed it, Leo. Liquidity's evaporated like legs in stoppage time, and with Brazil bid depth down around 25K, one decent hit can send it sliding. That 0.42 offer stack is a brick wall, and the draw creeping up is the market choosing safety over. Brazil's still under pressure, 0.41, 0.42, but the big tell is that ask depth got cut nearly in half. Less supply overhead, so a small burst of buying can move it. Draw's book looks shakier now too, with bids pulled back, so momentum's turning into a coin flip again. That's a real rotation. Brazil ticks up to $42, Y43, while the draw bid depth basically vanishes, only about 11K, so that safe trade just lost its midfield. With Brazil's overhead supply shrinking, one clean push and you can see a quick pop, but it'll be choppy. Brazil's back on the front foot. Bid-ask steps up to Y43044. Spot on, Leo. When the draw bids dry up like that, it's not a hedge anymore, it's a trapdoor. Brazil's climbing, but on thinner bid depth, so one big tackle from that 46 supply and momentum can stall fast.
Absolutely. Think of it like a stadium-wide gasp after a turnover. Brazil's support vanishes in a heartbeat. That sell wall is the defender parking the bus, and even the draw market's got jelly legs with bids disappearing under pressure. Sigmano's barely had to break a sweat, just that one sharp stop to keep the lid on it. But don't be fooled. When a keeper's quiet this long, it only takes one wicked deflection and suddenly he's the headline.
Brazil's holding 0.43, 0.44, and the bid depth actually refills a bit, so buyers are showing up again. But that 0.46 ask stack is still the next defensive line. Draw's bids are off the floor but still thin, so any shock and it's a quick slip.
Here we go. Corner swung in with bodies colliding like rush hour traffic in the 6-yard box. One clean run, one brave header, and this stadium erupts. You can feel the danger crackling in the air. Slavkovic stands over it again, and the box is a wrestling ring. Shirts tugged, elbows tucked, nerves jangling. This is where matches turn in a heartbeat. One delivery, and it's chaos at the near post.
Big swing back toward the draw. Bid depth explodes to 180K and Brazil slips to 0.41, 0.42. That's the market parking the bus and playing for 1-1. Brazil's ask wall thickens again, so upside needs real volume, not vibes. Morocco. Brazil's leaking, down 204 euro 4-1, and that ask depth is getting heavier, so rallies are getting sold like clockwork. The draw support cooled from that spike, but it's still materially stronger than earlier, which screams, risk off, protect the scoreline. Morocco's quiet. Now the draw actually edges up to 0.40, 0.41, while Brazil stays pinned 0.40 and 0.41. This is the market shifting from Brazil wins to Brazil doesn't lose. Brazil bid depth drops hard, so it's like the crowd's gone quiet. Brazil just took another step down to 0.39 or 0.40 while the draw holds 0.40.41. Momentum's flipped and the safe side is now the stalemate. That 0.46 sell wall on Brazil is still a brick wall, so any bounce looks like a dead.
Brazil are hammering that near post like it owes the money, whipped in with venom, but Morocco are standing tall and soaking up the chaos. And that challenge on Hakimi, oof! That's the kind of late sting that gets a crowd howling for a card. IMO, Brazil keep pumping that near post corner like a high-frequency trade. Tiny margins, one touch, and bang. Also, that tackle on Hakimi felt like a clear yellow risk management failure. Ref letting volatility.
Spot on, Leo. Brazil's basically scalping the box, but if you can't break the 0.46 wall, it's just possession with no end product. And that missed yellow is like the regulator stepping away. One more crunching challenge and the whole market reprices in a heartbeat. Brazil's still stuck 0.39, 0.40, but look at that ass depth ballooning past 610K. Every pop is getting met by a wall of supply. Meanwhile, the draw has the cleaner support with bigger bids, and even a short covering print shows bears taking some chips off the table. Tension. Nobody wants to overcommit, but the favorites' legs look heavy. That's a big liquidity air pocket on the draw. Bid depth collapses, so one decent sell, and it can gap like a sloppy back pass. Brazil's still capped 8.046, but with thinner bids too, this whole book is set up for a quick momentum swing. Morocco inching to 0.
IMO, with this new World Cup format and a round of 32, topping the group is like getting a better bracket draw, feels like seeding in markets. How big is that reward in your world when you're positioning for the next round?
Totally, Leo. Top spot is like earning a lower volatility path. You're not just buying win probability, you're buying future optionality and fewer nasty tail risks. Traders pay up for that smoother bracket the way markets pay a premium for quality. And we're seeing a tiny uptick. Brazil and the draw both nudge 2.40 euro 41 and 2.41 or 0.42, but it's on thin bid depth, so this is a fragile rally. Morocco's actually softening to 0.180 is the high line. Until it breaks, bulls are just running into an offside trap.
Morocco need to stop living off scraps, win it, breathe, and get runners flying beyond the ball so Brazil can't just reset their shape. Switch it quick to the wide men, drag those fullbacks out, and then punch a pass into the channel like a jab before the hook. Douglas Santos sold him the dummy with that little back pedal, then bang, timed it like a metronome and nicked it clean. That's the kind of tackle that deflates a break and fires up the whole back line.
Brazil just slipped 0.38, 0.39, while the draw holds 0.41 or 0.42. Money's basically saying stalemate is the default and fading the favorite. And the sell side is stacked like a parked bus. Over $500,000 on the offers for both Brazil and the draw, so breakouts won't come. Those matches where the crowd gets nervous and the tape gets choppy fast. Draw is getting marked up again to 0.42, 0.43, while Brazil stays pinned 8.038, 0.39. Classic favorite can't finish pricing. Bid depth on the draw is healthier, but the offer side is still a brick wall, so upside is a grind, not a... Brazil gets a tiny bounce back to 0.39, so 40, but the real tell is the draw bid depth just evaporated, down to about 8K. So that 0.42 handle is way less secure than it looks. Morocco's unchanged, meaning the market's not buying an upset, just price.
Vinicius hits the turbo and Morocco instantly throw three bodies at him because one-on-one with Vinny is like juggling knives, and then Brazil nearly steal it with that lightning throw. Bono sharp as a cat to slam the door. Morocco switched off for a heartbeat and almost
Brazil's bid depth just jumped to about 90K, while price holds 0.39, 0.40. That's real support stepping in, even if the offer stack still looms. Morocco ticks down to 80.19, so the upset crowd is backing off a touch. Feels like
Greasy sniffing around the second ball, and Danilo does brilliantly to keep it alive on the edge. Brazil squeezing the pitch like a vice, but El Canu sticks a boot in and says not today, hacks it out and buys Morocco a breath.
that Brazil support didn't stick, back to 0.38, 0.39, and the bid depth fades, so buyers are getting tired of chasing. Draw stays firm 80.422, 0.43, and Morocco drifts lower, which screams no upset, just a grindy stalemate. This tape's playing like
IMO, Brazil's quick throw urgency right after halftime is like a market open gap. One team alert, the other asleep. Jump in. How do you read that switched off moment as a momentum swing, like liquidity getting punished?
Absolutely, that switched off beat is when thin liquidity gets exposed. One sharp push and the price gaps before anyone can reset. It's like a defense caught ball watching on a set piece. The first mover gets the clean fill, late money pays up.
Heaney tries to thread the needle, but Bruno can't wriggle through that traffic. Morocco slammed the door, and suddenly it's a break the other way. Raheem Diaz picks it up, and you can feel the tempo spike. This is where Morocco have to make it count. Heaney stabs it inside again, but Bruno gets swallowed up. Morocco read it, step in, and they're off like a trapdoor's open. Raheem Diaz on the turn with green grass ahead, and Brazil are scrambling to get their shape back. Fabinho clatters him off the ball, and suddenly Morocco cough it up. Vinny's already back hunting like a shark that smells blood. Igor Thiago lets it roll, but Hakimi just nicks in front at the last gasp, and that bump in the squeeze draws the whistle. Oof, little afters there. Sabri and Gabriel getting tangled like two lads fighting over the last seat on the bus, and Fabinho's walking the tightrope now. That was pure stop the counter at all costs. Ref's got the finger wagging, and the next one could be trouble.
Whoa, liquidity just evaporated on both Brazil and the draw, and Brazil slips back to 0.38, 0.39. That's a classic crowd steps away from the ball moment. When depth thins like this, one decent-sized order can look like a counter.
IMO second half's turned into a momentum swing. Brazil's subs injecting urgency. Morocco suddenly making tactical fouls like risk management to stop counters. Feels like the market flipping from bearish to volatile. What's your read on managing that kind of pressure?
You're spot on. Those tactical fouls are like volatility halts, breaking rhythm before it turns into a run. In markets, that's when you trade smaller and respect the spread, because thin depth means one shove can become a full-on breakaway.
You can feel it crackling now. Those little innocent blocks are turning into proper tactical street fights, and the ref's patience is getting tested. Morocco had the first half rhythm, but Brazil's changes have flipped the momentum, and
Depth just snapped back. Draw bid is back near 93K, and Brazil bids rebuilt too, but price still can't lift off 0.38, 0.39, so sellers are controlling the tempo. That's like Brazil pressing hard but running into a disciplined backline. Lots of
Morocco milking every second here. Hakimi's got that internal countdown ticking loud, and Mazraoui leaves one on Rafinha to underline the message. Now it's worked wide. El Canu surging with purpose, looking for that killer little thread through the eye. Hakimi's taking his sweet time, and you can almost hear the ref counting him down. Morocco trying to freeze the tempo. Mazraoui clips Rafinha, then suddenly El Canous is on the charge, shaping to slip a pass through traffic. Brazil's backline brace.
Draw just got marked up to 0.43, and that's the market basically saying this game's staying tight, even with Brazil ticking back to 0.39, so 0.40. Morocco's offer stack is massive now. One goal against them, and that side can gap like a...
Paquetà's woken up after the break, wins it, then gets clattered, and Brazil are suddenly sharper, tighter, squeezing Morocco like a vice. This is top 10 quality on show. You can feel a late twist brewing, and Rafinha's movement is starting to add.
Now we've got a real liquidity air pocket. Brazil bid depth collapses to 25K, and Morocco bids to 13K, while the draw grinds up to 0.44, 0.45. That's classic late game. Everyone's defending the 0-0 positioning. Snapback could be violent simply because there's nobody on the other side. Brazil's slipping again to 0.37, 0.38, even as bid depth refills. So it's not a lack of buyers, it's sellers leaning on every rally like a team killing the clock in the corner. Draw stays the home favorite at 0.4400 points. Books set up for a whippy repricing because the asks are still towering. Liquidity just thinned again. Brazil bid depth down to high 15.6K and draw bids 39K. So this is a twitchy tape where a small shove moves the line. Morocco ticking 0.18 is the market quietly fading the up counterattack to decide whether this ends 0 or flips the whole board.
Vincic has had enough of the dawdling. He's tightening the screws, and Brazil's press is suddenly snarling with Marquinhos stepping out like a bouncer. Diaz tries to spark a foot race, gets shut down, then throws in a little ref. Did you see that appeal?
Draw keeps creeping higher to Salvine 45.46, and that's the market tightening the screws on stalemate while Brazil can't lift off 0.38. Morocco's ask depth is a monster again, 550k, so any upset narrative is getting smothered. Brazil catches a little bid back to 0.38, 0.39, while the draw eases to 0.44, 0.45. Tiny momentum swing, but nothing like a breakout. The big tell is depth. Brazil still has a heavy ask stack overhead, so rallies are...
IMO refs letting too many tactical fouls go. Games turning into stop-start like circuit breakers. Fresh legs on, and you can feel Brazil trying to change the temperature of this match. Danilo brings that calm authority, and Cavani adds a bit of bite in the lanes. This is the moment where one smart touch can flip the whole script.
Totally with you, Leo. When the ref swallows the whistle, it's like a market with no volatility controls. The chop gets worse, and nobody commits. A couple yellows would be the rate hike that calms the crowd and forces cleaner play.
Rafinha hits the deck and Brazil get the whistle. That ball into the middle is begging for a yellow shirt, but it's ghosted. No one gambling. Savari tears forward and Riyad slams the brakes, and now Brazil are loading the next change. Luis. Oh, here we go. Double trouble warming up for Brazil, and you can feel the tempo about to jump a gear. Mateus Cunha's been itching for this. And with Luis Enrique, too, that's fresh firepower ready to pounce on tired legs.
Draws back up to 46%, and Brazil can't get past a 3-9, so the market's basically pricing possession without payoff. Morocco's ask wall ballooning to 676k is the book screaming no upset, and that kind of crowd positioning can...
Trevin on it again, and he's stranded. Brazil's shape is squeezing him like a vice. No pass, no turn, nothing. You can almost hear the panic in that extra touch. One slip here and it's curtains.
Brazil slips back 2.37 to 0.38, and you can feel the market leaning into the draw again, 8, 0.45, 0.46. Classic nil-nil drift pricing. The ask side is still a brick wall across all three outcomes. Crowds positioned for boredom, which is exactly when chaos likes to show up. Brazil's leaking again, down to 0.36, 0.37, while the draw holds 0.45, 0.46 with fatter bid depth, so the tape's basically saying this stays tight, and that Morocco ask depth north of 500k is a full-on parked bus in the book, making any upset pop hard to sustain. Draw ticks up again to 0.46, 0.47, and that's the market voting for stalemate. Brazil's now the one backing off at 0.36, 0.37. With Brazil's ask depth still massive, any bounce feels like a counterattack. Morocco just firmed a touch, 0.16, 0.17, while Brazil can't lift off 0.37, so the underdog hedge is creeping in. Draw still looks like the home team of this market at 47%, and that's classic late-game time-wasting pricing. If Brazil finds... It's aggressive, not panic, more like a manager rebalancing into risk on before the market closes, trying to force volatility. But if the push doesn't create chances fast, you've spent your ammo and the draw trade gets to run down the clock.
IMO Brazil just threw on Cunha and Luis Enrique at 1-1. Ancelotti's basically making an aggressive buy-the-dip move. How do you read that kind of momentum shift when fresh attackers hit a tired midfield?
Totally. Those subs are like rotating in fresh legs for a late press, and the market usually reprices fast because tired mids start coughing up cheap turnovers. But with the draw trade crowded, one Brazil surge can trigger a squeeze like a last-minute counter that flips. Brazil bid depth just jumped to 83k, and the top bid's now sitting up at 0.34. Someone's stepping in like a team finally pushing the back line higher. Price hasn't moved yet, but that's often the tell before a quick rip if the draw crowd starts scrambling.
IMO, Brazil just burned 4 subs before Morocco even blinked. Ancelotti going all in early. From your world, that's like rotating the whole portfolio mid-session. Does it scream confidence or panic to you? Brazil just made 4 subs before Morocco made any. Ancelotti going aggressive. Give us a quick portfolio rebalancing take. When do you go all in versus hold your positions?
Yeah, that's a full rebalance into risk on. Go all in when you've got a clear edge and time to let it work, not just vibes. If the flow doesn't flip quickly, you hold and protect capital, because late game liquidity gets brutal. Draw bid depth just swelled past 105k, while Brazil's bid depth cooled, so the crowd's leaning back into 1-1 and chill. Brazil's still pinned at 0.37 despite that 0.34 support, like dominating possession with no shots. That Brazil book just got yanked. Top bid collapsing to 0.01 is a classic liquidity pull, like the crowd going quiet right before a counterattack. Draws edging up to 0.47, 0.48, so the market's basically pricing no winner unless Brazil produces. We've got a weird one. Brazil ticks up to 0.37, 0.38, but the top bid is basically a penny wall, 0.01 with nearly a million shares, so real support is thinner than it looks. Draw liquidity also evaporated on the bid side, which screams jumpy tape trading. One headline and everyone's sprinting, including me, and I'm not fast. Brazil slips back to 0.36, 0.37, and the draw holds 0.47, 0.48. Market's basically saying stalemate until proven otherwise. That giant 0.01 bid is a decoy wall, like parking the bus with inflatable defenders. It won't catch real selling. Draw just firmed 2.048, 0.49, and notice that chunky offer sitting up 8.082. Someone's basically saying, I'll sell you overtime hope, but it won't be cheap. Brazil's still stuck 8.0.36, 0.37.
IMO, Morocco.
Spot on, Leo. Those subs are Morocco rotating into high beta right as Brazil's set-piece pressure ramps, like chasing momentum late in the session. Fabinho getting patched up is a mini liquidity pause, but the next dead ball is the headline risk that can gap this. Brazil's still pinned 80.36, 0.37, while the draw stays bid at 0.48, 0.49. Markets leaning no breakthrough, even with the drama on the pitch. That 82 draw offer is the tell. Sellers are confident in making buy. Now you're seeing real money lean into the stalemate. Draw bid depth just exploded and it's pushing up to 0.49, 0.5e, while Brazil drifts to 0.35, 0.36. Morocco's bid depth checked the point positioning, and Brazil backers are getting tired legs.
Morocco leaning on diaspora talent and youth subs feels like smart long-term squad building. Any quick parallel to how markets recruit global talent capital and the risk-reward of betting on young prospects under pressure? Brazil are down to 10 for a heartbeat, and they smell blood. Quick free kick, Danilo charging like a runaway train. Kuno tries to bend it around the corner, but Morocco snapped the door shut again, and that off-the-ball grappling is starting to boil.
Absolutely. It's like markets pulling in global capital where the best flow wins, not the loudest home crowd. Youth subs are venture bets, higher volatility, but one clean touch can reprice everything. And if it flops, you wear the draw. Brazil's price is leaking again to 0.34, 0.35. This is the market marking down the favorite as the clock chews up their edge. Draw holds 49 Ofivo, but that earlier big bid support vanished, so it's more cautious stalemate than full-on conviction. Morocco steady 8-0. Draw just took the lead 8-0.50, 0.51. This is the market parking the bus and pricing no winner as the base case. Brazil's still offered heavy with big ask depth, so any rally needs a real catalyst, not vibes. Morocco hasn't attracted fresh conviction.
Vinicius snaps it out wide and Rafinha wastes no time. First time ball whipped in with real venom. Morocco get a vital touch to clear, but Brazil are camped on the edge now, recycling it like waves crashing back in. Vinicius again, slick and sharp, and Rafinha fires in that early cross. Brazil are trying to catch them before they can set. Morocco hack it clear, but you can feel the pressure building like a kettle about to whistle. Danilo shapes to pull the trigger and bang, Mazzari throws himself in the way. Heroic block, and there's the twist. El Canus is still out there after that substitution mix-up, while Brazil keep probing, trying to find that one clean lane.
Draws getting marked up again to 0.52, 0.53. Momentum traders are basically saying this match is stuck in midfield. Brazil slipping to 0.33, 0.34 tells you the favorite premium is evaporating fast, and that big Morocco-esque wall screams nobody's paying.
Luis Enrique slides it in with real intent, and Brazil try to knife through the middle. So close, but it just runs away from Rafinha, and Morocco breathe out for a second as that chance evaporates.
That's a real shove toward the draw. Bid depth rockets to about 185k, and the price ticks up to 0.53, 0.54, like the crowd sensing extra time. Brazil's down at 0.31, 0.30.
Brazil have turned the screw here. Danilo high, Luis Enrique cutting inside like he's got a magnet for danger, and Morocco are backing off, terrified of that left foot whip. What a ball flashed across the face, and Rafinha's run is perfect, just missing the final kiss.
Draw is now the clear favorite 8-0.55, 0.56. This is the market basically calling A0-0 with confidence, like both teams settling for penalties. Brazil stuck 8-0.31, 0.32 tells you nobody's paying up for a late winner, and the risk is a draws holding that 0.55, 0.56 grip, and the bid depth staying chunky says buyers are defending it like a one-goal lead in stoppage time. Brazil's book is the story. A huge wall sitting right 8-0.32, so any upside is getting headed away at the near.
IMO, Brazil's momentum is surging, but we've got a hydration break. Give me your market take. Is this like a mid-session halt that cools a rally or a reset that favors the side under pressure? Oh, tell me about it. Sometimes the ball's begging for a simple header and instead we get a whole Broadway audition. But in a game this tight, one honest, no-nonsense contact and it's chaos in the box. Whoa, tempers flaring like a derby night. Someone's lost the plot on the touchline. Keep it moving, lads, because the only name that matters right now is the one on the score sheet, and this match is still begging for a hero.
Post-break, nothing's confirming that Brazil's surge in the tape, still pinned at 3-1-32, and that ask depth just got heavier, so rallies are getting sold like clockwork. Draw stays glued at 0.55, 0.56, which is the market saying possession without...
No, you don't leave now. This is the bit where the game bites you if you blink. Whether it's 3 or 5, those minutes are gold dust, and Brazil's momentum says something's about to crack.
We're basically in a holding pattern. Draw still parked 8-0.55, 0.56, but that bid depth is thinning, so the draw defense isn't as fresh as it was. Brazil can't get through 32 with that wall still stacked, and Morocco's offer side keeps ballooning, match where everyone's waiting on one mistake to finally move the scoreboard. Totally, Leo. This is late game portfolio management. Morocco's conserving legs like holding cash, while Brazil's spending energy like a growth stock trying to break a stubborn resistance. The market's still priced for stalemate, so the best investment... Nailed it, Leo. Resilience is a long-term hold when the structure's intact, but it turns into leverage when you're forcing trades just to feel in control. Right now, the pricing screams patience. One clean catalyst wins it, chasing every tick just...
There it is, Ultra sliding in as the official beer sponsor, trying to steal the spotlight like a winger with fresh legs. If the football in 2026 matches the marketing energy, we're in for a tournament that'll have everyone on their feet. Ultra again, this sponsor's pressing higher than a team chasing a late equalizer. If they repeat it one more time, I'll start expecting a VR check on the ad break.
Draw money just got a little more confident, bid depth jumped, and that's the crowd parking the bus with size. Brazil's still stuck 8-0.31.32, so until that 0.32 offer gets cleared, it's all warm-up swing. Brazil's book just got heavier on the sell side. Ask depth ballooned while bid depth thinned, so any rally is fighting uphill like a team chasing the game with tired legs. Draw is still the base case at 55%, and Morocco ticking up a hair. That's a real momentum fade on Brazil. Bid slips to 0.30 and liquidity's evaporating on the buy side, so it's like the fans leaving early and the home push loses oxygen. Draw stays pinned at 55% and Morocco's barely budging, meaning the market's still pricing. Brazil just leaked another point when prop dips to 31% and the market's still capped 8-0.31, so buyers are showing up but they're not brave. Draw spreads wider, ATR 56, 0.57, that's the book saying late game nerves, while Morocco creeping to 14.
We're into the last stretch at New York, New Jersey, and it's crackling at 1-1. Brazil sniffing blood with that relentless press. Morocco trying to play through the storm, and Morocco finally wriggle free. Sibari in a tight angle, bang, Marquinhos throws his... And the flag's up. Just as the crowd starts to rise, it's snatched away. Brazil will breathe again and reset, but that little warning shot from Morocco still echoes around the stadium. Offside again. Morocco living on the edge like a traitor chasing a spike. Brazil get the free kick, and you can feel Ancelotti urging them to turn that reprieve into a punch up the other end.
Brazil's sliding again, Swart 29 0.30 and win odds down to 29% with that huge ask wall saying sellers are still in control. Draw is the new captain at 57%, but the spread widening to 0.56, 0.58 screams volatility.
That's razor thin. Sibari's shoulder just leaning into trouble, and at this level, that's enough to kill a move stone dead and credit Douglas Santos. Got turned for a heartbeat, then recovered like a sprinter and slammed the door.
Brazil's price is stuck 80.29, 0.30, but the tone's improved. Ask depth got cut almost in half, so the selling pressure's easing, even if nobody's ready to press the buy button hard. Draw up to 58%, feels like the market parking the bus and protecting the lead.
Morocco are scrapping for every second now. Vinicius gets nudged off at the ball, popping around like it's got a mind of its own. Gabriel and Danilo are sweeping up, and Hakimi nearly wriggles free, but that touch just deserts him at the worst moment.
We're back to a more defensive tape. Brazil's win odds slip to 29%, and the sell side depth thickens again, so any bounce is getting headed away at the near post. Draw holds 57% with steady bids. That's the market's play for penalties mindset. Brazil's still pinned 80.29.30, but that ask stack is rebuilding. Sellers are stepping back in, and the top ask sliding down to 0.84 hints they're willing to lean on any rally. Draw remains the crowded trade at 57%.
Love that wider World Cup picture. Third place, going through turns every match into a lottery ticket, doesn't it? But back here, Morocco are suddenly stroking it around with a bit of swagger, and Sabari is prowling forward like he fancies another headline.
That's another step down for Brazil. Now 0.28.29 with win odds at 28% and bid depth thinning, so the comeback trade is losing bodies fast. Draw is up to 59% and priced like the favorite, classic see-it-out positioning. Morocco's still 14%, but the higher top...
IMO, that third place advances format feels like a market with extra liquidity. Suddenly the mid-tier teams have real upside. How do you see that changing risk-taking and game management for underdogs like Haiti or Scotland?
Totally. Extra advancement slots are like a wider bid. Underdogs don't need a perfect match, just avoid the blowouts.
Morocco are finding that first half rhythm again. Little 1-2s inside-outside trying to pull Brazil out of shape.
Yeah, that's blue chip behavior. Calm under pressure, always showing for the ball like a stock that keeps making higher lows. If he strings together a few more big stage performances, the market reprices fast, from prospect to core holding in one tournament. Brazil's still under pressure at 28%, but notice the sell walls coming down fast. Ask depth drops to 273K and bids rebuild.
Brazil are trying to crank the engine back up now because you can feel Morocco growing in belief with every tidy spell. Fresh legs coming on at a perfect time, and with a quarter hour left plus stoppage, this has late twist written all over it.
Brazil's price is stuck, but the story's in the trenches. Ask depth keeps bleeding lower, so sellers are less dominant even if the scoreboard hasn't moved. Draw nudges back to 59% with heavier offers. Crowded favorite, but you can feel the market getting cautious.
Wadi's 18 and running the midfield like a seasoned pro. Composure in tight spaces, big upside. Give us your blue chip take. What's his valuation trajectory if he keeps bossing games like this?
Brazil ticks down to 0.27, 0.28, and the market's basically saying, prove it. Odds stuck at 28%, with sellers still leaning on it. Draw creeps to 60%, and that's the safe money trade, like a team parking the bus with a lead. Morocco holding...
That sloppy giveaway is the kind of moment that flips a match on its head. One bad touch and suddenly everyone's holding their breath. And look at Vinny, sprinting across like a man chasing the last train home with 80,000 roaring him on. That's the danger zone now. Loose touches, tired legs, and one mistake could hand someone the keys to the group. Vinny's tracking back like a heat-seeking missile, and with 80,000 in full voice, every turnover feels like a thunderclap.
Draw's getting even more love. Bid depth jumps to 158K, and the price edges up, so the crowd's basically playing keep away and protecting the favorite outcome. Brazil's still pinned at 0.27, 0.28 with a thick offer stack like they can't...
5 weeks from now, who's lifting it? Who's writing their name in the biggest World Cup story ever? And there he is again, Guadi, the teenager in the engine room, playing like he's got a decade of finals in his back pocket.
Order book just went full momentum swing. Brazil bid depth collapsed to 6K and price slid to 0.25, 0.26. Looks like panic and no support. Draw still 60%, but liquidity thin too. Morocco upticks to 15% like a... Nailed it, Leo. Look at that tape. Brazil's bid depth just fell off a cliff. That's panic liquidity, like a team losing shape after one bad turnover. Morocco ticking up while the draw stays pricey screams momentum shift, even if the scoreboard hasn't blinked yet.
He's floating out there like he's on skates, 18 years old and playing Brazil like it's a Sunday kickabout, ice in the veins. Morocco are slicing to the byline now. That cut inside opens the door. and you can feel the stadium tighten as
Totally, this is classic late money chasing the break, and you see it in that draw price holding firm while Brazil only gets a tentative bounce. It's like a counterattack, one clean run and the whole stadium leans forward, spreads widen, and nobody wants to be last in. Draw keeps grinding higher, 62%, and the bid stack is still the biggest on the pitch, so the market's parking the bus and daring someone to score. Brazil's price isn't collapsing, but that ask wall ballooning to 386K says every little rally gets sold into. Draws now see 4%. That's the market basically calling for a stalemate. And the bid depth is still huge, like a team killing the clock in the corner. Brazil slips to 24% even with better bids because that sell-side wall stays massive and caps any comeback rally. Brazil's still pinned at 24%, but notice the near-touch ask 80.26 is chunky, 114K shares, so any uptick runs straight into a defender's tackle. Draw stays the captain's armband at 64%, and
fresh legs coming in, and you can feel the chess pieces sliding. Morocco gambling on youth to keep that intensity without the ball. And Daniel Santos on the brink for Brazil. That's a big moment. One touch, one run, and suddenly you're the headline. Bono's putting on a blue chip performance. Third big save and now a little knock. Feels like market volatility after a shock move. Got a quick analogy for how one mistake can swing momentum like a sudden sell-off?
absolutely. One keeper error is like a fat finger in a thin book. Price gaps, stops cascade, and suddenly the safe draw trade gets unwound in a heartbeat. Momentum flips fast because everyone was leaning the same way and the exit doors narrow. Draws edging up in price, 0.64 to 0.65, so the market's tightening around that stalemate narrative, like both teams happy to take it to penalties. Brazil's still stuck at 24% with a heavy offer overhead, so any push forward gets met by instant selling pressure. Draw ticks up to 65% and the tape says protect the lead. Money's still crowding into the stalemate. Brazil's ask depth just ballooned to 478K. That's a concrete ceiling, so any Brazil bounce looks like a counterattack that dies at midfield. Brazil's bid depth jumps, but the top bid actually slips to 0.22, so buyers are showing up, just not willing to pay up yet. Meanwhile, that Brazil sell wall is now north of 510K, which screams every rally gets headed away. Draw still owns the tempo at
That hamstring tweak is the little alarm bell every coach hears. No heroics this early, get him off and live to fight the next one. Last 10 minutes now feels like poker. Both want the win, but nobody wants to go bust with a silly loss.
Now we're seeing liquidity evaporate, bid depth on Brazil, and the draw just got chopped, and spreads are widening like tired legs late in extra time. Brazil ticks down to 0.23, 0.24, while Morocco nudges up to 13%. So the market's sniffing a small
6 days isn't long in tournament time, so every sprint right now has a price tag on it. Morocco eyeing Scotland, Brazil looking ahead to Haiti, but this moment still matters because one clean move here can swing the whole group mood. 6 days isn't long in tournament time, so every sprint right now has a price tag on it. Morocco eyeing Scotland, Brazil looking ahead to Haiti, but this moment still matters because one clean move here can swing the whole group mood. Saladin whips it in and Brazil throw the body on the line, proper tournament defending. But Morocco recycle it fast and then oops, one loose touch and suddenly Rafinha's got grass to run into. Here comes the danger.
Brazil just caught a bid up to 0.26 or 0.27 and win odds 27%, while the draw slips a touch, so someone's finally pressing for a late winner. But it's still a thin pitch. Morocco's bid depth is basically gone, and that's when one counter can look bigger than it is. If Brazil doesn't score soon, this
late collision off the ball, both teams have a player down, feels like a risk management moment. Do you protect the point or push for the win with tired legs? Give us your portfolio protection take.
Yeah, that's the market's volatility spike moment. Everyone stops, checks exposure, and the next restart can reprice everything. With books already thin, the smart money hedges the draw while keeping a small Brazil kicker for a set-piece winner. Brazil just got air-pocketed, bid depth collapses to $5,000. That's basically no defense in front of the keeper. Draw stays firm, AT 0.64, 0.65, so the crowd's parking the bus and daring Brazil to break it down. In this tape, any decent buy.
Cunha wriggles in and suddenly Morocco are scrambling. One wrong step and it's panic stations. It's out on the near side and you can feel the argument starting already about that last touch. Every inch matters now. They've just flipped the call after a quick review, new protocol in action, and it's the right decision. Feels like VAR volatility. One tiny deflection and the whole market of momentum swings instantly.
Exactly. VR is basically an earnings revision mid-quarter, same game, totally new pricing. With liquidity this thin, that reversal can trigger a mini short squeeze in Brazil or a rush back into the draw, depending on the restart.
IMO, this new review protocol, flipping corners into goal kicks is like a market correction. Tiny touch, big swing. Give us your take on how these micro decisions change momentum and risk management for teams. Imo, Morocco are pushing for a historic late winner against Brazil. Massive upset vibes. If this were a market, it's that rare black swan day, momentum shifting, pressure building, and Brazil looking rattled. Give us your late volatility take.
Totally, Leo. Late game is when liquidity vanishes and every touch moves the price, like the last 5 minutes of a tight final. Brazil look like a favorite protecting a lead they don't have, and that's when one counterpunch turns into a full-blown gap move. Brazil just got a little oxygen, bid depth jumps to about 19K and price ticks back to 14.15, but that ask side is still a concrete wall. The draw book is the real heavyweight here, stacked on both sides, so the market's still calling no winner as the base case.
Morocco loading the box like it's last orders at the bar. This is their moment. The delivery isn't clean, but it drops kindly on the far side, and Talby's got it under control. You can feel the stadium holding its breath for one final twist. Oh, that spin was silky. Just enough to open the door, but then it slams shut as possession flips. Brazil try to ignite the counter with Cunha, and Morocco smartly pulls the emergency brake with a tactical foul. No free runway for the Seleção. That turn was pure street football, but the next touch betrays them, and suddenly Brazil are off like a fire alarm. Cunha's ready to sprint into daylight, and Morocco just clips the wings. Cynical, yes, but absolutely necessary at this stage.
Brazil's catching a bid back to 16-17 and depth improving, so someone's stepping in like a late super sub trying to change the match. But the draw still owns the narrative at 74-75, and those huge ask walls mean any Brazil pop can get sold into fast. Morocco just got priced like they've run out of legs, down to 6-7 cents with almost no bid depth. That's the crowd heading for the exits. Brazil holding 16-17 with a real bid at 15 tells you dip buyers are finally showing up, but the draw still sits mid-7.
That foul is dark arts. Amo would call it risk management with a grin. Kill the transition, keep your shape, live another minute. 10 added minutes is a lifetime now, and Brazil nearly cash in as Rafinha sneaks in, but the final touch gets smothered by their own trap.
Now we're seeing the classic late game, everyone backs off move, Brazil's bid depth gets cut in half and the draw liquidity thins. That's the buzzer beater candle, Leo. Thin liquidity, one print, and the whole taper prices in a heart. Yep, that's a full-on risk on rotation. Brazil rallies hard, the draw gets sold like a crowded exit, and Morocco's line turns into a lottery ticket with widening spreads. In the final minutes, Morocco's risk profile is basically all volatility, no liquidity.
You can see the legs going now, passes wobbling, minds racing, and that's when chaos writes the script. Bono nearly gifts a moment with that miscontrol, but he boots it clear, and Danilo's hustle in the middle is pure survival football. This is that late game wobble. Everyone's running on fumes, and one mistake can turn into a headline. Bono has a little heart-and-mouth moment, but clears his lines, and Danilo's off-the-ball work is the kind of graft that wins ugly games. Late Brazil goal just dropped after Hakimi's recovery tackle couldn't stop it. Crowds erupting. Give me your market close analogy for this kind of last-minute swing. Brazil have just scored late. Total momentum swing. Give us your market reaction take. Who's crashing? Who's rallying? And what does that do to Morocco's risk profile in the final minutes?
Brazil's finally getting rewarded, 18-19 now, so the market's pricing that late goal as real momentum, not noise. But the draw is still stubbornly mid-70s, which screams one more twist risk, and Morocco 88-9 is pure optionality with
92nd minute, corner number 5. This is where hearts start thumping in the stands. They've been teasing that near post all night, but they go over the traffic and find Gabriel's forehead, and Morocco are hanging on by their fingernails. 92nd minute, Brazil piling on with corner number 5. This is last chance saloon stuff. Morocco double team Fabinho like he's the danger man, and bang, it's Gabriel rising above the crowd. One clean glance and it could have been curtains.
Brazil's price is holding up at 18-19, but the bid depth is fading again. So this rally's got skinny legs like a team protecting a lead with tired clearances. Morocco just slipped back to 6-7 cents with a massive ask wall, so nobody wants to be the hero buyer. Big shift here. Brazil just got faded back to 15-17 and the bid depth collapsed, so that late goal momentum trade is getting marked down fast. Meanwhile, the draw is the crowded favorite again at 76-77 with a huge bid stack. This is the 7, but with that towering ask wall, it's like trying to score through traffic with no passing lanes.
Bono's got fists of iron. He charges out and punches it clear, and that's nerves of steel in stoppage time territory. Brazil try to spin back to the byline again, but Rahimi stands him up and pokes it out. Another corner, and the clock is screaming now.
Brazil's market is basically on life support. 14-15 with under 2 grand of bid depth, so any sell hits like a counterattack straight through midfield. Morocco's perked up to 9-10, but it's still a thin, emotional bid. The draw staying 75-76 is the crowd. Draws tighten 277-78, and the bid depth is rebuilding, so the market's basically saying we're going to extra time and paying up for it. Brazil's still stuck at 14-15 with a big offer overhead, like they've got the ball but no shots on target.
IMO, Brazil just had the bench on its feet. Big chance, huge save, and now it's end-to-end chaos. Give me your late game volatility take. Who's got the momentum like a surging stock right now?
Absolutely, that's pure late game vol. Spreads widen and the tape gets jumpy. Price action still says the draw is the index, but Brazil's the high beta name. One clean break and it rips, one turnover and it dumps. Brazil's fading again to 11-12, and the bid depth is basically a puddle. Any pressure and it slides, no cushion. The draw is still pinned at 78-79, like a team killing the clock with possession. Morocco holding H9 tells you traders still respect.
IMO, Morocco's got their first corner in the 95th minute. Late drama. Feels like a last-minute earnings surprise moment. What's your take on pressure and risk when the clock's this tight? 95th minute, Morocco win their first corner after a shoulder-to-shoulder, pure late drama. Any quick market-close analogy for this last gasp set piece?
That's the closing auction, Leo. Everyone thinks the print's set, then one big order hits and the whole tape jerks. A corner this late is a binary catalyst. Either nothing and the draw holds, or one touch and prices gap like a limit-up move. Brazil's down to 10-11 and Morocco's slipping to 6-7. Market's basically calling no late winner, and the draw is still the safe harbor at 78-79. But look at that draw ask thinning 80.79. If the final whistle's not in yet, one.
El Mora whips it in with that wicked in-swinger. Allison hesitates, then plants his feet like a statue with nerves of steel. Brazil get the first contact, and suddenly the air comes out of Morocco's balloon, but they're still prowling for that second ball. Refs counting him down. Morocco rush the throw, and it's chaos for a heartbeat, but Brazil hack it clear and try to spring the break. Morocco snap right back, win it again, and with under 5 to play, every touch feels like it weighs a ton.
Draws now 85-86. This is the market parking the bus and daring anything to happen. Brazil and Morocco are both single digits with massive ask walls, so upside is basically one miracle touch versus a very crowded
IMO, this 97th minute Morocco free kick feels like a last-second earnings beat. One swing and the whole market flips. Give me your risk on take. Do you go direct or play it clever for the second ball?
Absolutely. This is pure risk on. You either shoot for the headline or you engineer chaos for the rebound. With the draw price like a sure thing, the second ball is the sneaky trade. More ways to win, and the market's caught flat-footed. Draws still pinned at 86-87, but notice the bid depth collapsed. Liquidity's evaporating right when nerves peak. Brazil and Morocco are basically lottery tickets with tiny bids and skyscraper asks, so any late goal would rip through prices like a thin.
Gabriel's header goes straight up like a balloon at a birthday party, and suddenly Morocco smell blood in the 97th. Fabinho's late with the studs, and now it's a set piece with options. Hakimi over it, body stacking the far post. This is hard and mouths.
Draw just tightened up to 88-89. Market's basically blowing the whistle early and paying up for certainty. Brazil's spread is widening and Morocco's stuck at 4-5 cents, so the only real risk is a freak deflection that nukes the most crowded trade on the board. If you're long,
Allison absolutely leathers it long, trying to pin them back, but it skids through like a wet bar of soap and Bono just gathers it up. 3 minutes left. This is that frantic last gasp football where one mistake writes the headline. That early punch through the middle, Brahim Diaz taking it straight down the gut, set the tone from minute 11, didn't it? Venice had to slam the door fast because once that lane opens, it's like a motorway at rush hour. Oh, that ricochet off Raheem's head sends it looping like a pinball, and Gabriel has to sprint over to put out the fire. Now the ball's bouncing awkwardly, and El Neni's got it under control, calm in the chaos, but danger's still simmering.
Draw at 93.94 now. This is the market kneeling it out, pricing the final whistle like it's already blown. Brazil and Morocco both AT3-4 with those monster 0.99 sell walls, so any comeback trade is pure.
Danilo Santos shuts the door on the flank, and Riyad shows ice-cold composure with Rafinha sniffing for that back pass trap. Vinicius goes down under Hakimi's attention, and the ref waves it on. Ooh, that'll get the crowd boiling as Mizimtali picks it up. Mooney can't quite wriggle free, and it spills central. Suddenly, it's panic stations. And the keeper knocks it down, then claws the follow-up too. That's pure reflex and bravery. Closing fast now, everything happening in a heartbeat. Allison switched on like a lighthouse there, off his line in a flash to snuff it out before it even breathes. That's the kind of alertness that saves you points and breaks strikers' hearts.
That draw spread widening to 93-94 while bid depth thins is the market saying, "We'll quote it, but don't hit us." Classic late-game liquidity pull. Brazil 82.3 cents with pocket change bids tells you the upset money's gone home. This
100th minute corner, Allison Spill nearly gifts a rebound, Hakimi, African Piotti, to swing it in. Any late volatility analogy for the viewers?
Absolutely. This is the market's last set piece, where a 94-cent draw can gap like a thinly traded small cap on a surprise headline. One keeper spill is a liquidity vacuum. Everyone's offsides and the price snaps before you can blink. Draw just tightened up to 97.98, and look at that bid depth, 285K stacked underneath. That's the crowd piling into the sure thing like it's stoppage time with the ball in the corner. Brazil and Morocco are basically penny stocks now with no real bids. Only risk left is a
100th minute corner drama. Allison nearly spills a wide shot. Morocco recycling, Brazil pressing higher. Give me a quick market volatility analogy for this late game chaos.
That's basically the closing auction. Draw is bid at 99 with no offers, and the other two are offered at a penny with no bids. Market's calling the result. When one side of the book disappears like this, it's pure consensus and zero wiggle room, like the ref already reaching.
What a ride it's been. End to end, nerves jangling, and nobody quite willing to blink. You can feel the last scraps of energy out there, but the drama's still simmering. One moment of madness, and it could flip again.
Draw bid depth just ballooned to 1.14 million at 99 with zero asks. This is full on, everyone's in the same end of the stadium positioning. Meanwhile, Brazil and Morocco are pure offer only at a penny, no buyers, so any miracle goal would be a once in a season.